Kia ora, Evaluation whānau. I'm going to take you through how to analyse surveys using SurveyMonkey. What you have to do is get into SurveyMonkey and go into Analyse. The first step you have to do is to clean your responses. Now, cleaning involves getting rid of the responses that are not relevant to your stage of analysis. These are typically people who have just gone through and browsed and looked at the survey and then made a judgment that they don't want to do it. So you want to take those people out. When you're cleaning, particularly when you're using a small data set and you may be able to identify who's answered why, you have to be very, very, very careful to not look at all the demographic questions. So what we have to do is go into analysis and then go into browse responses. At this point, we've got to go view all pages. That allows us to see everything in one go. And now what I have to do is go through all 32 and just check that a decent amount of responses have been filled out. Notice it's a very quick process. So here's one. I will delete this person. That was the one that was not a student in the BYD. So here's another one. So we delete this one. Thankfully, most people answered. It's quite important to do cleaning. What would tend to happen in your surveys as well is, like we talked about, is that you would actually go down and find out, okay, if the person's put other in one of the demographics and you needed to rebox them, you would. You can imagine how, when you're dealing with thousands of surveys, how this can take so much time. When I first had a job doing it, I had to literally flick through paper surveys and throw ones away that pictures had been drawn on, or but there were definitely no answers. So putting something through SurveyMonkey actually saves a lot of time. That's it. Okay, so now we go into the view summary, and this is when I can see that 100% of people said they were a BYD student, because we took rid of that one response that said that they weren't. And you can start seeing it's a pretty definite picture coming through, but at the same time it's got some diversity to it as well. Like the idea that I can see straight away that what I'm going to be reporting to Montaz is that block courses enable students to balance commitments, communicate to agencies the time they need off. They can give people large chunks of time with other students and with the tutor. And I also look at the others to see what I found here. Easier for childcare, intimate tutoring. Some people would actually then recluster that into time with tutor. I'm not going to. And at the same time, I've got needs to be more often, or communicate needs to continue strongly in between blocks. So we can that information I'm going to still use in my analysis as well. Problems with it. Definitely, there's a problem with having blocks in school holidays, and because of commitments in life, it's difficult for people to put them aside. The weaknesses have been often getting too much in-depth information, but only 5 people, so it's not really. Sometimes it's a week long, which is too long to take off work. Yeah. Okay, so in those responses there's a definite theme that we should be looking at, not penciling out whole weeks for blocks. Okay, so remembering here, I'm going to be looking for the mean and the mode. So I've got 27 people responding here. Here we've got a split, keeping blocks courses but having them all start in the first week, very well and unsure. So again, there's 27 responses, looking for the 13.5 I should be saying in both, which comes in well here, so medium here, but mode I'll communicate is very well and unsure. So whilst it may benefit some students, not everyone's sure it's going to benefit. Definite 26 here, the medium will fit in here, the middle number mode is here. The indication is keep the blocks but get the timetabling of the blocks right. Here I have to do a qualitative analysis, so I have to look at the themes. Okay, so it sounds like we need to set Moodle up correctly so that if anything it's working in a fortnightly or weekly way so that you know what you're doing. It also sounds like, from what I'm picking up from this too, is that we need to be using Moodle in class from year 1 so that you know how to use it. Again, I'll look at these responses and see what's in them. Okay, so when it comes to placement, there's a definite theme that we need to be, our placement coordinators need to be talking to your agencies about what you need, that we should be providing some professional development for our agencies, and that having everything verified on one assignment's good. I've already looked here at the qualitative comments, and the key thing that's coming through there is if someone's in an employment situation on placement, that we shouldn't be requiring our verifications. So I'll be feeding that back. So there'll be another way of verifying, probably through a work description or something. I would download these responses, and you can download your full responses from Moodle because you've got access to SurveyMonkey from there. I'll download them as an Excel file. Press download here, save, go into the results. You're not going to see that side. Okay. Now remember, because I've downloaded it, I could actually just use these SurveyMonkey tables, but I should not be reporting the percentages. The percentages are here for me. So I know that around 2/3 of you said that block courses work because you can balance work commitments. I know that over half of you also said that having chunks of time with tutors and students is great, and that you can communicate these with your agency. Okay, so that's all those percentages that are giving me there is that proportional thing. On these here, I would have to again work out those means, the medium and the modes. And what I tend to do is highlight. If you're working on the newer one, Excel, you have to turn the editing on. Highlight where the mode is first, or modes are. Because often the mode is where the medium will fall. So we know that here, 6 plus 6, the medium, if I change the colour, actually falls there. And we know here that the medium actually falls there. What that says in reporting is that the results varied. Okay, so whilst most students were, whilst the greatest number of students were unsure that keeping the status quo of block courses would work for them, there was the higher proportion of students felt that it was either well or very well, whilst a greatest number of students were either unsure or very well that block courses should fit in the block in the first week. It was pretty evenly split, and there were students that also felt it would fit and work in the first week. So the well and the well, these give me an idea. And actually, there's something not quite right of block courses, and it's indicated in the other comments that part of it is keeping that regularity of things going. But moving away from block courses would be a really silly idea. So then we get down to this, back to SurveyMonkey, and we'll go back to the cross tab. and we will apply it, and we'll view all pages. Whilst there's a bit of a sway here, it's not too proportionately different. I'm just looking up here at the numbers, 11 and 13, not too different. Proportionately, not too different. And I'm not going to go and look at the demographics. I'm only interested in these findings. I don't use demographics to analyse demographics. It's just a silly idea. I use demographics to analyse the findings I'm looking for. So you remember Auckland, you may remember this more than Wellington, but I said at one point, I think because the students are very different between Wellington and Auckland, there could be a possibility that what works for Wellington may not work for Auckland. Well, I actually know now that that's not true. That both areas seem to be pretty balanced in what they feel. Well, what that means is that I can keep these findings as demonstrated of all students despite what region they are studying the BYD, and I'll do that for each group. But what I might find, and this is what I did find on a bigger analysis project I just worked for, some faculty said they needed to have support, and other faculty said that they didn't. So I found very different responses, so I had to report them. So I would be able to say, if I did find a response, say, here, Wellington students found that they could balance a lot of commitments for the BYD. So I'll look at this 19, I'll go, well, 13 of those came from Wellington and only 7 came from 13 and 7 and 6 came from Auckland. So therefore, Auckland students tended to say that they felt that spending large chunks of time with other students is the key strength in the block, but they didn't feel the same way about balancing life commitments. So I would report that difference. Otherwise, what I'll tend to say now is, 2/3 of students felt that they were able to balance a lot of commitments in a block course structure. There were no differences between Wellington and Auckland. That's it, full stop. That's how I do my analysis. So have lots of fun doing analysis.